All right. Good morning. How you all doing? Karibuni sana. Welcome to the Afriforex daily analysis, this 18th day of March, 2025. Hope you're well. Apologies for starting off very late. A couple of technical issues that we had to sort out at the back office, but at least we've been able to maneuver that. And at least we'll be able to get this session on the road. So for the sake of guys who are new here, John Bogo is my name. I'm a trader at Afriforex. Afriforex is a trading unit. So we do have the rest of the team here. So in case you do have any questions, feel free to ask them on the chat box. I will also be looking at those questions towards the very tail end of this session, but you don't really need to wait until the very end. You still can ask, even as we do continue progressing on. And of course, for the guys who are going to be joining us later on, also feel free to ask your questions in the video comment section, and also feel free to reach out to us via contact details. They should be there in the video description as well. So remember to give us a like and a subscribe. That does help out our channel. And also feel free to turn on the bell notification so that at least you will be notified anytime we do go live. So we're going to jump straight into it. So we'll start off by looking at the watch list, and you can see the watch list for today right here. So the 18th day of March, can see basically it's more or less copy paste from what we had yesterday. Only one change on the US 30, which has gone to the buy side of things. So we will be having a look at that a bit later on. So before we do jump into the currency pairs and what the watch list has to offer today, we'll start off by looking at the screenshots that we did get, because we'll do the reviews as we continue moving along, because the currency pairs and everything else more or less is the same. So we'll start off with this one from Alvin. So shout out to you, Alvin. So this is on the Great British Pound against the US dollar. So you got a really good buy down within this region right here before the market took off. And I can see that you came out right at the top where you should have come out. Definitely, most probably an area where we do have some sellers there, but very good entry, very good exit, clean entry and clean exit. So shout out to you for that, Alvin, and of course, keep up the good work. We're always happy to see your screenshots here. So we also did get a screenshot from Bravin. So this is on silver as always. So can't see that you got a handful of buying opportunities down within there. Can't see that your stop losses for both trades somewhere within this region right here. And I know that silver is continuing to move higher up to the upside. So if you're still hanging on to that, then this is some very, very good trading. So shout out to you for that, Bravin, and of course, keep up the good work. So we also did get a screenshot from Mark Mori. So this is on silver as well. Seems like you also got a buy down within here. I think this was, later on, I guess, yesterday. Just looking at the dates. So stop loss somewhere above your point of entry, which is good. And I can see that the market is continuing to move higher up. So this is also good. If you're still hanging on, hopefully you should be in some good profits. Hopefully you'll also end up managing your stop loss. But I know that personally not too worried about that, because I know that you're quite experienced on the chart, so you do know what you're doing. So shout out to you for that, Marky Mori, and of course, keep up the good work. So we also did get a screenshot from Peter. So this is on the Great British Pound against the Australian dollar. So I can see that you got a sell somewhere within here. And as the market did come down, I can see that your stop loss is already beneath your point of entry, which is okay. If you got the sell, especially after the market pulled back in within here, then that was a very, very good entry. But nonetheless, at least once the market started to move in your favor, I can see that you did bring your stop loss in lower, which is good. Just securing more of your profits and also mitigating your risk. So shout out to you for that, Peter, and keep up the good work. So last but not least, we did get a screenshot from Charlotte. So this is on gold, and I can see that this is on the 5-minute time frame. So you got to buy somewhere within here. I can't see your take profit all the way high up there. Don't quite know where your stop loss is, but I hope we did have one. Maybe it's because it's on the 5-minute time frame. Maybe just couldn't fit within the screenshot, but hopefully you did have a stop loss somewhere. But it seems that the buy was just starting to work out of this region right here to start moving to the upside. Hopefully, when the market did move in your favor, you possibly did bring your stop loss up higher to mitigate your risk. So shout out to Alvin, Bravin, Mark Ingori, Peter, Charlotte for those screenshots yesterday. We're really happy to see your progress. And remember, guys, if you do get any trades in, whether good or bad, feel free to send them in to us. Our contact details are there in the video description. Send them in to us via WhatsApp. Also, feel free to reach out to us if you do need more information, but also feel free to visit www.afriforex.com for more sites and insights. So I guess that's pretty much it in terms of what transpired yesterday with the screenshots. I guess we'll look and see what happened on the charts as we continue moving along. So this is the watch list for today. So we're going to start off with the Swiss franc pairs, then move on to the yen pairs. They're still on the sell side of things, so feel free to take note of that. So we're going to start off with the euro against the Swiss franc. So for this one, yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could get some buying opportunities. You can't clearly see the three areas that I had pointed out right there. So in the morning, price was here. We're expecting a pullback to come back in within here. The market pulled back in, but it's like the buyers have not really been able to push the market up higher off this region. So the levels are more or less the same. Let's see if today, maybe the big boys are going to be interested in pushing the market up higher. So the same three areas we had yesterday, the game plan is the same. Let's see what happens. There's a possibility the market might attempt to probe within this region to the downside, maybe inside a couple more sellers to come in, and maybe so that the big boys can really show up. And once they do, if everything aligns with the times, then hopefully during the US session, maybe we could get a very good buying opportunity. So watch out for that. Watch out for the region at the bottom. I mean, if the market can't move off this area here, then most probably it might need to end up coming back in within this region where we do have the big buyers who did push the market to the upside on Friday. So let's wait and see what happens, but also watch out for the red SNR. I mean, in case the market breaks and holds beneath that region to the downside, unfortunately, there will be no trade for us. So the next one, this is the New Zealand dollar against the Swiss franc. So for this one, yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could get some buying opportunities. So you can clearly see the three areas I had pointed out and what the game plan was. So price was somewhere here. We're just expecting maybe to get a pullback back within this region here to possibly look for the buys. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. I guess this price was good enough, but you can see that the market continued to rally up higher, broke this region to the upside, pulled back in within there, some sort of an upward trend. You can see that every time the market breaks a level, it's literally been coming back within those regions. So for this one, the buys did work. You can see that the market continued to make higher highs and higher lows, which is what we were expecting. In terms of the entries, maybe it could have been a bit tricky, considering the fact that the pullbacks were quite shallow. If you look at how the market was just pushing up higher and higher, the pullbacks are very shallow, unless maybe you're reading that on a smaller time frame, maybe on the 3-minute and the 1-minute time frame. So let's wait and see if we can get something clear on the 15. Can't see that there's a region of resistance that the market tapped within there. Sellers are starting to come in. Let's see if we can get this market hopefully giving us a pullback we can read. Maybe even stopping out some of those late buyers who are hitting buys high up within these regions here. And most probably we do get price coming back in within this area. And if we do watch out for the times 3, 4:30, potentially we could get a very good buying opportunity off this area to push to the upside. So let's just keep our fingers crossed. Of course, there are quite a number of scenarios within here that you could potentially find that maybe the buyers might also be interested. I mean, it's just a matter of waiting to see if we can get a price action signal within this area here. If that ends up being the case, then it's up to you to judge if hitting a buy from here coming up, which is only about 12 pips, if you can't get a proper stop loss that can give you a proper risk to reward coming up, then it might actually not be worth chasing that trade. Maybe you're better off waiting for price to break above here to the upside. And if that happens on the pullback, then you could look for the buying opportunities or the more conservative buying opportunities higher up. So let's wait and see if we can get that pullback coming in within that semi-aggressive conservative region. I think that's a very, very good area to look for some buying opportunities if the market does give us an opportunity to come back in within there. And of course, if we do see the big boys showing up. So the next one, this is the Great British Pound against the Swiss franc. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten buying opportunities as well. So you can see the 4 areas that I had pointed out. This one was a bonus level. So in the morning, price was somewhere within this region. And I pointed out that at least even if we couldn't get price coming back in within here, there was this level here that potentially we did get price coming in somewhere as close as possible within there. Then maybe we could have looked for some buying opportunities. But consider the market just fooled around within this region here. So unfortunately, there wasn't much activity yesterday. So moving into today, the levels are the same. Let's see what happens. Of course, you don't really want to be hitting your buys too close within that region there. So at least right now, the market is attempting to come in low. I mean, even if it doesn't come in within this region, there's definitely this area right here that we could potentially get some good buying opportunities to go up. And I think the risk to reward if we get the buy somewhere here, it's not too bad coming up. So I think it should be about 30 pips or so. So it's not too bad. I mean, if you get in a stop loss of about 10, you could easily end up getting a 1:3 risk to reward coming up back within there. But at least if we could get price coming back in within here, the better. So let's wait and see what happens. Of course, if you see pullback happening, like you can see right now, the pullbacks are happening on the CHF pairs. That means that potentially there could be some good correlation. So let's wait and see how far the pullbacks can go. When the market starts to turn, have a look at the rest of the CHF pairs, because they could all be turning together. And if that ends up being the case, then that's good. At least that should give you that much more confidence if you do jump in on any of the CHFs. So moving on into the next one, this is the Australian dollar against the Swiss franc. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities as well. So you can't see the three areas I had pointed out. We're expecting a pullback to come in. Unfortunately, the pullback couldn't come in. The market just came, held within here for an extended period of time, then attempted to break to the upside, pulled back in. And you can see that after the market broke to the upside and pulled back in within this region right here, that's when the market took off to the upside. So I guess this one from around 5:30 or thereabouts, that's when the market did actually make a move going up. So for this one, we're still going to be trying to see whether we could get buys. Seems like it gave one good buying opportunity yesterday at 5:30. So I think that was during the New York Stock Exchange session, because that session normally opens at around 4:30. So you can see that the market bounced off here, continued to push to the upside, found an area of resistance there. The pullback has come in. It's a bit aggressive here, but let's see. Most probably the sellers might attempt to break this region to the downside, attempt to break their previous record. You can see that they've come in aggressively. So for them to fully come out of their orders, there's a possibility there could be another push to the downside here. And I guess if the buyers do really show up and the market holds within here, watch out for the times 3, 4:30. You could potentially find the market pushing to the upside. So there's a possibility all through the London session, the market could be setting itself up. Let's wait and see if that ends up being the case. But also remember that in case the market breaks and holds beneath here, there's a possibility the market could attempt to rally a bit lower, maybe coming back in within here. But of course, the last area where we will be attempting to see whether we can get our last buying opportunities will be somewhere within this region. In case the market breaks and holds beneath that region to the downside, then unfortunately the Australian dollar against the Swiss franc is off our case. But the good thing about it is at least we can end up looking for opportunities elsewhere, because we do have a number of things that we're going to be watching out for. So the next one, this is the US dollar against the Swiss franc. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could get some buying opportunities. And if you do notice, the rest of the CHF pairs went up. The Great British Pound against the Swiss franc was maintaining, but this one did come down. So this could potentially be something to do with the USD. Not really showing strength, but hopefully we'll be waiting to see what happens. So you can see the three areas, or more or less four, that I had pointed out yesterday. We're expecting price to come back in. So in the morning, price was here. It pointed out that maybe we could get the pullback coming in. The pullback came in. The buyers did seem at one point like they did show up within this area here, but the sellers just couldn't slow down. You can see that they really showed aggression and the market came down. And after that, it's like the buyers really had nothing to say. So for this one for today, we'll still be back at it. So we will be attempting to see whether we can get buying opportunities. Right now, you can see that the market is just coming back in within that semi-aggressive conservative region. So we will be waiting to see if we could get price potentially breaking above this area to the upside. Don't just look for buys just yet. At least if the market comes in within here, breaks to the upside, and you see that hold, to the upside of this area, where you potentially even end up seeing some attempts of the sellers, to push to the downside, which ends up being unsuccessful, but the market still maintains above here. I think if you do attempt to buy, it should be good to go. You could target all the way up there, but you will have to watch out for somewhere within this region here, but also somewhere within here. So I can even move this one maybe somewhere lower, because you could find that it could just come tap into the bottom side of that region before the sellers do react. So watch out for that. But at least if the market breaks through that region to the upside and hopefully comes back in for some sort of a retest within this area, you could potentially end up getting another buying opportunity within here, for those of you that are really good at trading and you're really experienced. So watch out for that, but also watch out for the region at the bottom. It's not impossible for price to get there. I mean, if the buyers do go up, but the sellers do come in aggressively, the market holds beneath this region, you could find price coming back in within this area right here. You could find that maybe the buys during the US session might potentially work out of that region at the bottom. But in case the market breaks and goes to the downside of that red SNR, then unfortunately there will be no trade for us. So last but not least, for the CHF pairs, we do have the Canadian dollar against the Swiss franc. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities as well. So these are the three areas I had pointed out, similar three areas that we do have today. In the morning yesterday, price was here. We're expecting maybe to just get price coming back in within here. Unfortunately, the pullback just couldn't come back in all the way till there. But it seems that there was some sort of an SNR, I guess, that was somewhere within here, which was more or less good enough for the buyers, because you can see that from around 3, the market did start to push to the upside. The only problem was that coming up, this was only about 13 pips. So in terms of risk to reward, yeah, the market did go up, but there's not really anything much to write home about. So for this one for today, the levels are the same. Let's see what happens. Potentially, if we get the market either pulling back in within these three areas right here, even the red SNR, it's a bit of a long shot for price to get there. But if it does find its way there, then that's the last area we will be watching out for buying opportunities. But right now, let's see what happens. Let's see if we can get price potentially going up. If we get that sign of the big boys showing up and the market comes back in slowly within here, I think at that point in time, you could look for your buying opportunities. Right now, it's not very clear, because you could easily hit the buy here only for the sellers within here to react, and you could find price coming back in. And if it does come back in, I'm thinking to the downside of this area, there's a possibility price might be coming in lower than this, looking for those much better prices. And if that ends up being the case, there's a possibility price could come back in squarely back within this semi-aggressive conservative region here. So if that ends up being the case, then at least we should be ready for that. But at least even if the pullback comes in, the better for us, to give us more range to the upside, the better the risk to reward for us. If the market blasts through this region to the upside, definitely we could get more conservative buying opportunities within this area. But I think let's wait and see what happens. You could easily find price coming back in within there. But if it doesn't, then wait and see if we could get price within here. So I hope that's clear in terms of the CHF pairs. So we've mixed and matched them up with everything on the buy side. So right now we're going to move on to the yen pairs, and we're going to do the same. So we're going to start off with the euro against the Japanese yen. So the yen pairs have really been moving all through, I think since Friday, yesterday, today during the Asian session. You will see quite a number of them have gone. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a number of them have gone past the conservative areas that were set earlier with the team. But before we get to that, let's look at what happened yesterday. So you can see for this one, this was the game plan. So price was here. We're expecting the pullback to come in for us to look for the buys within here. Unfortunately, price just came shy of this area. There was an SNR here, which I guess was good enough. Price came up, broke this region to the upside. There wasn't much of a pullback. And you can see that the pullbacks have been very shallow. So that tells us one thing, the yen is really getting hammered. So the big boys are really dumping the yen. And that's the reason why you can't see that since the yen is extremely weak, even the pullbacks are extremely shallow. So hopefully today we'll get a proper pullback we can read. But of course, if the pullbacks can't be read, you might be forced to go down to the 3-minute and the 1-minute time frame to read those pullbacks, to try and see whether you could get the buys. But the good thing about it is if you get a good entry and you hang on, the market will just continue moving in your favor. So you just need to get a good entry and basically just hang on and you get paid. The hard part is now to actually get that entry, because the pullbacks are not very clear. So for this one, the market seems like it's breaking to the upside. So let's see if let's see how far it goes. But let's see if we could get price coming back in within here. And at least if we get that pullback coming in within this region, potentially we could get some very good buying opportunities off that region to push to the upside. But also watch out for these two other regions here. The big boys can easily pull a shocker whereby everyone is busy hitting the buys, then out of nowhere, a massive pullback just happens. Everyone is stopped out. People start looking for selling opportunities only for the buyers to actually end up resuming. But at least we do have those other two areas set. In case that ends up being the case, at least you will be well informed. So moving on into the next one, this is the New Zealand dollar against the Japanese yen. So for this one yesterday, we're also trying to see whether we could get some buying opportunities. So you can see the three areas I had pointed out. In the morning price was here. We're expecting maybe to get a pullback within here to get some sort of buying opportunities. But you can't see that the market just continued to grind up higher. The pullbacks were very shallow. So, I mean, like I was pointing out, it seems like the big boys are really dumping the yen. You can see that the pullbacks were extremely shallow. So for this one, for today, we're still going to be watching out to see whether we can get some buying opportunities. So let's watch out for these three areas right here. If you haven't checked in on any buy on this one, I wouldn't advise you to really jump in on any buy just yet. Let the market break above here. You can see that the sellers are giving issues within here. Not really the big sellers, but generally you can see that the market has been held hostage within that region. So at least if we get the market breaking above here to the upside, can get a pullback, we can't read, back within this region here. I think we could potentially get a very good buy, but also watch out for these two regions right here. The market can easily pull a shocker. And in case that ends up being the case, then maybe you could find the market coming back in within there. And if it does, then at least you should also be ready for that. So the next yen pair, this is the Great British Pound against the Japanese yen. So for this one yesterday, also trying to see whether we could get buys. So you can see the three areas I had pointed out. So in the morning price was here. We're expecting the pullback. That didn't happen. The market was to break above here and potentially come back in. To some extent, you can see that during the US session, the market went up. The big boys showed up. The market pulled back in somewhere within this region here. And you can see that off this area to the upside, the market really pushed itself up higher, and all through the US session, moving into the Asian session, you can see that the market is still moving and grinding up higher. So for this one, similar situation with the rest of the yens. Feels like, we've analyzed, or we're analyzing the same chart over and over again. The good thing about the yen is that, correlation is always in play most of the time. So they're always doing the same thing, more or less the same time. So right now you can clearly see they're all moving up. When the pullback happens, most probably it will happen on all of them. When they start to move again, they will possibly start to move all together as a bunch. So for this one, similar situation with the rest. Let's wait and see what happens. Let the market break. Let's see what pullback we get within here. If we get a proper pullback, we can't read, then I guess we could look for some buying opportunities there, but also watch out for those two other regions, the semi-aggressive conservative region and the aggressive area at the bottom. So the next one, this is the Australian dollar against the Japanese yen. So for this one, we're also watching out for buying opportunities yesterday. So you can see what the game plan was. Price was here. We're expecting the market to go up, pull back in within this region. It did. If you look at the times at exactly 3, which is during the US session open, the market did start its move to the upside. You can see that there was also a pullback coming back in within this region here, and the market has continued to rally up higher. So similar situation with the rest of the yens. So also this one has moved up higher. For the guys who got the buys earlier, they must be very happy. For us who are trying to join them, we'll just have to end up waiting for a pullback to come in. So watch out for these three areas. Similar situation with the rest. Say that the market to break above here and move up higher. Then on the pullback, we could potentially get the buys within there. Or else, if that doesn't happen, and maybe the big boys need to incite a few more sellers to come in, there's a level somewhere within here, which is also a major level. It's not very visible on the 15-minute time frame, but if I do go up to the 1-hour time frame, it's definitely a region of interest that the market did break to the upside. So there's a possibility price might just come back in within there. If it does, then at least we should also be ready for that as well. So watch out for that. Watch out also for your risk. And no matter what you do, make sure that you always do trade with a stop loss. So the next one, this is the US dollar against the Japanese yen. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities. And you can see the three areas I had pointed out. So aggressive, conservative, semi-aggressive, conservative here. In the morning, price was somewhere within here. This one gave the best pullback. So you can see in the morning, price was here during the London session. From around 11, price was within a seller's region. The pullback came in, and at exactly 3, price was back in within this region. And you can see that the market took off to the upside, came back in once again for some sort of a pullback within this region right here. And you can see that off that area, the market did actually push to the upside quite well, just even moving into today during the Asian session. So for this one, the 3 areas we're going to be watching out for are these 3 areas here. So more or less similar situation with the rest of the yens. We'll be waiting to see what pullbacks we get. The big boys seem like they're still pumping and pushing the yen. So we're dumping the yen. Let's see what happens. If we can get a proper pullback, we can't read within here. Let's see how far the market can actually go. And if we get the market pulling back in within here, I think we could get a very good buy going up. But also remember the pullback can also come back in within that region. This one is a bit of a long shot. But like I always say, it's better to have something and not need it rather than need something and not have it. So it doesn't really hurt to actually have that level there. So last but not least, for the currency pairs, we do have the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen. So for this one, yesterday, we were trying to see whether we could get some buying opportunities. So you can see the three areas I had pointed out. So in the morning, price was here. We're expecting the pullback to come in. This one didn't give a proper pullback like we saw on the US dollar against the Japanese yen. Just almost more or less similar to what we've seen with the rest of the yen pairs that gave some very, very shallow pullbacks. So in the morning, price was holding all through the London session within this region. Then the market went up, gave a slight pullback, just shy of this area here. You can see that the market just bounced off this area to the upside and continued to rally up higher. So for this one, the levels for today, these ones right here, hopefully you can take note of them. So let's see what happens. You can see that all the yens are looking similar. They're all attempting more or less to break the conservative regions that we have for today. Let's see what type of pullbacks we end up getting, and hopefully we could get on some very, very good selling opportunities. But I think caution should also be advised, considering the fact that all the yen pairs, looking at them across the board, they're all within some resistance areas that they're trying to breach. So there's also a possibility you could find that those resistance areas might easily push the market back down, because those levels are quite visible on the 4-hour time frame. Like even just going on this one, this is the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen. You can see that on the 4-hour time frame, the market is actually attempting to take out these big sellers who are sitting within here. And you will find that is something that is across the board. You can see that also this one, some big sellers sitting there on the 4-hour time frame on the Australian dollar against the Japanese yen, also trying to take out some big sellers on the 4-hour time frame. So there could be some pullbacks that could easily come in. And you can also see on this one as well, it's challenging some big sellers who are sitting there. So of course, the big boys who got their orders down within these regions, they're definitely trying to liquidate within that area. So be a bit careful. At least if you can't get a proper pullback, you can't read. All I would say is caution is advised. I'm not saying don't take the trades, because I made no risk, no reward as far as trading goes. But all I'm saying is that just make sure that you're a bit more careful. You could easily end up stepping into a region or getting a buy within a region where the big sellers are also sitting and possibly waiting to make a move. So just make sure that you're also extra careful. So I guess that's pretty much it in terms of the currency pairs. So hopefully you have taken note of everything we've discussed. So on that front, and even before I forget, on the economic front for today, there will be quite a number of news events that will be coming up. In fact, let me highlight a couple of things that are going to be happening this week. So today, the economic calendar, a number of things are going to be happening. So we do have the CPIs for the Canadian dollar. So possibly there could be some movement with the cards at that point in time, because CPIs normally bring in a lot of volatility and stuff. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But the interesting thing about this week, today, and tomorrow and Thursday, there's going to be interest rate decisions for quite a number of currency pairs. So we will also be getting a lot of moves. You can see that there will be some interest rate decisions for the yens tomorrow early morning at around 6. Then we do have CPIs for the euro, then some interest rate decisions, I think, for the US. Yeah, right there tomorrow as well. Those ones are going to be happening tomorrow as well. Then on Thursday, we do have, I think I'd seen the Swiss franc. Yeah, right there, the interest rate decisions for the Swiss franc and also for the Great British Pound as well, going to be happening tomorrow. So I guess there's going to be a lot of activity that's going to be happening in terms of the interest rate decisions coming out this week. So just make sure that you also do really watch out for your risk as well. But at least the exciting thing is that the charts are definitely going to be moving. You just need to be on the right side of things, and hopefully you will cash in. So that's pretty much it in terms of the currency pairs. So I guess we can move on to the indices and the commodities. So we'll start off with the NAS 100, which has been a bit problematic the last 2 days. So we've been trying to see whether we could get some selling opportunities. So these are the 3 areas that I had pointed out yesterday. So in the morning, price was here. The market had just come back in within the sellers region. The buyers did seem like they were kind of slowing down, but we did need to see a sign of the big sellers showing up. Unfortunately, that didn't quite happen. So you can see that the market broke this region to the upside and literally bounced off this area to the upside to attempt to end up coming up higher. So we've adjusted this area and taken it up a bit higher. The reason being, if you read the story on the 1 hour time frame, initially we had the level here, but ideally, even if the market breaks above this region to the upside, I don't think we'd be very confident to look for the buys because we still have the big seller who's sitting somewhere within here, who's more or less the one who's holding the market. So that's the reason why we did adjust that a bit higher. But generally, all the activity that's happening within this region is all within the zone of this seller who's sitting within here. So we will be waiting to see what happens on this one. So these are the three areas that we do have for today. You can see that also the market has been in some sort of a range within this area. So I'm really keen to see what happens in case the market comes back in within this region. And let's say the sellers do actually push the market down quite aggressively and the buyers really struggle, to break above here and we're back in the range. There's a possibility price could easily be coming back in, within this area here. So we've adjusted those levels right here just slightly, just to accommodate the range that's happening within here. So let's see what happens. If that doesn't happen and the market bounces off this region to the upside, I guess we could potentially be coming back in within here. You could attempt some sort of a counter, but like I always tell guys, make sure that you also don't end up trying to go too aggressive on the counter in terms of your risk. Just make sure that you tone down because you could easily end up taking the buy here, attempting to target here, only for the sellers within here to really hold you hostage. And you could easily find the market turning off this region because generally, like I pointed out, we're still within the zone, of this seller who's sitting here and they can't easily end up showing up. So let's wait and see what happens. Of course, in case the market breaks and holds above the red SNR to the upside, and at least at that point in time, we could start looking for those buying opportunities more aggressively, and you could easily end up opening up your risk maybe a bit more. So moving on to the next one, this is the Dow Jones. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten sales, but that was for as long as we're holding beneath this region to the downside. Remember the previous day, the market had gone up, come down. It was seeming like it was holding within here. I had pointed out that we did need to see maybe the market attempting to go up higher, come back in, the big sellers show up because they hadn't quite showed up within this area. And after that, maybe we could have tried to see whether we could have gotten some selling opportunities. Alternatively, if the market broke above this region to the upside and held above, then at that point in time, we could have looked for buying opportunities. So for this one today, we're going to be trying to see whether we can get buying opportunities. And of course, that's considering the fact that we're holding above that region to the upside, the red SNR. So in case the market comes in and breaks that red SNR and goes to the downside, then at that point in time, our bias is going to be shifting again. But so far, it seems like the buyers have really taken control. So you can see that the market pushed up quite aggressively during the US session. Right now, we have a pullback coming in. Let's see if we can get the pullback coming back in within this area here. But you can see that we also set an alert somewhere here. This is also an area of interest. So potentially you could find price also just coming back in within this area or somewhere within this region here. Maybe just to tap in within that area. It could bounce off there, come back up. You could get the buys there. For those of you that are really good at trading, if price shows up within there, you could potentially end up also looking for some buying opportunities within that area. So let's wait and see what happens. And of course, you could find that maybe during the US session, that's when the market could be starting to make a move. Maybe during the London session, we could be on the pullback phase. So moving on into the next one, which is silver. So for this one, yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities. So you can see the three areas I had pointed out and also illustrations of what to expect. So in the morning, price was here. I pointed out that potentially there could have been a buy off here in case the buyers did show up. And you can see that the market during the London session at around 11, price came in, tapped within this area, attempted to come up. You can see that it just came back in within the sellers region right there. Then after that, the sellers pushed the market down lower. Price came back in within this area here, which I had pointed out. And you can see that later on, from around 4:30, the market did actually start to make a move to the upside. And it was really good to see that Bravin and Makimori did get some very good buying opportunities on this one, and of course did manage the situation quite well. So for this one, the levels are the same. The market hasn't gone far and beyond the regions that I had pointed out yesterday, but we'll be waiting to see what happens. Don't look for the buying opportunities just yet. Let the market first break above this region to the upside, because it's not yet guaranteed that the market will break above here. Although looking at gold, which we will look at in a bit, I mean, gold has been moving up higher. Seems like silver is also following suit. So there's a possibility this one might go up higher, but it's always best to wait, because you could find that the market could easily tap within that region, and we don't know what type of reaction these sellers are within this region are going to give us. So let's wait and see what happens. Alternatively, you can't get the market breaking above that region. You could easily find the market coming back within either this region right here or somewhere within this area here. And of course, if it does do that, then it means that, I mean, if it's still within the range, the best area to look for the buying opportunities is still down here. So you could easily still find price coming back in within that region. So watch out for that. And of course, watch out for the red SNR as well. It's a bit of a long shot, but in case the market finds its way there, we still should be looking for buying opportunities. And of course, in case the market breaks beneath that region to the downside, then unfortunately at that point in time, we will fall back in terms of buying opportunities, but we can't start to look for selling opportunities. So last but not least, we do have gold. So for gold, yesterday and today, the bus is to try to see whether we could get some buying opportunities. So you can't see the three areas I had pointed out. So in the morning, price was here. I had pointed out maybe we could get the pullback coming in within this region. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. Or potentially, if the market broke above this area to the upside and we did get a pullback coming back in within here, then we could have potentially tried to see whether we could get some buying opportunities. So there was also this area that I had pointed out that maybe we might just get the market pulling back until, fortunately, the market just couldn't get back within there as well. But you can see that once the market broke to the upside, pulled back in, there was some good retest coming back in within here. You can see that from around 4:30, the market did actually start to push to the upside. So if you got the buys within there, then that was very good. And that's the reason why we always point out you always need to be very, very patient, because the pullbacks will always come in. So for this one for today, these are the three areas. And of course, gold is at an all-time high right now. So let's see if it's going to be breaking the record again, which is quite crazy. So right now we are at 3,000. Let's see if we'll end up going up higher. So it's 3,000. There are some guys who were asking, I think, sent some messages on WhatsApp and are asking what it means, 3,000. It's actually 3,000 per ounce. An ounce is about 35 grams. So 35 grams of pure gold will cost you about $3,000, which means that a kilogram or a bar of gold, which is 1 kg, or thereabout, should possibly end up costing you about, I think, 13 million, which is quite crazy. So it's history in the making. The interesting thing about it, we are having a look at this one with the rest of the team early in the morning. And one thing we realized is that the market has actually sped up. If you look at how gold has actually been moving, and these are just interesting facts, not really something that is really going to help your trading, but since it's history in the making, I might as well just put it there. If you look at the fact that from 2000 to 3000, the market has actually only taken a year. So I think it broke within this region right here. This was about March last year, 2024. So it's actually taken a year to actually end up getting an extra 1,000. But I think from 1,000 to about 2,000, it took about 175 years. So right from 1835 all the way till about 2009, that's when the market actually hit, $1,000. So all this time the market was just fooling around. Then it took about another 15 years, I think, from just getting from 1,000 to 2,000. So it took 15 years, and right now it's taken just a year, from 2,000 to 3,000. So based on the fact that the buyers are really pushing, and you can see that the market is really gaining a lot of momentum, I don't think it would be very surprising to actually see gold possibly even end up going up higher. Who knows? Maybe it could potentially even end up hitting 4,000 this year. Who knows? So let's wait and see what happens. But that, regardless of that, doesn't mean that you should just simply just take a buy and just target for 4,000. Of course, we need to keep up with the story of what's going on. So these are the three areas we will be watching out for. So you can see that the sellers have attempted to come down, the buyers have pushed up. Let's see what happens within here. You could find that the London big boys might be interested and we could get the market pushing up higher, but also risk would be advised in terms of looking for the buys now. At least if we can get a proper pullback coming back in within, somewhere within this region here, at least I think the buys within somewhere down within this region are less riskier than looking for the buys up here. Unless, of course, if the market goes up higher, then we get a proper pullback coming in, then at least you can have a level or some sort of a reference point that you can end up using to the upside. So let's wait and see what happens on this one, but definitely interesting times. Let's see what happens on this one, but definitely history is in the making. So I guess that's pretty much it in terms of everything. So hopefully you've taken note of everything we've discussed. Let me just have a look at the chat box real quick to see if there are any comments. So you see marking oil there saying on the yens, we also have interest rate decisions tomorrow morning. Yeah, I pointed that out, but glad you've also taken note of that. So we could find the market also continuing to rally up higher, or you could find some spikes that could easily end up stopping guys out. So I see Lab as well. You're saying GBPN could hit 200 later in the year. Ideal to get in on long positions once a proper retracement presents itself, as Bank of Japan actions are limited in the long run. Yeah, that's also true. So you can see that, I mean, the yens have already started to push to the upside. So you could easily find the market going. But also one thing you also need to remember about the yens, there was also that intervention by the Bank of Japan, I think sometime mid last year. And you can see that when the currency was really losing a lot, they intervened, and you can see that the market really pushed to the downside quite aggressively. And since then, the market has just been fooling around within this region here. So it could hit 200 like you're talking about, because I mean, there's also a region here that seems to be an area of interest. But even if we're going to be hitting there, there's definitely quite a number of support and resistance areas and problem areas, the smaller time frame that could easily give you issues. So unless you're some sort of an investor who's going to be hitting buys within here, just targeting up here, and you just simply just wait, because it might take months, I would say, before the market possibly ends up hitting within that region. But I can see what you're looking at in the long run. So definitely quite a number of buying and selling opportunities in between, even as the market continues to rally up higher. But that's a very interesting observation. So thank you so much for that, Lyle, as well. So I guess that's pretty much it from me and from us. I want to thank you guys so much for making the time. Apologies for starting off a couple of minutes late, but at least we're able to overcome the technical issues that we did have. In case you're struggling with your trading, feel free to reach out to us. Us guys are more than happy to be of help to you. Our contact details are there, but also feel free to visit our website, www.afriforex.com, for more insights, more information, and of course, the much needed help that you do need to make your trading that much better. So hopefully we'll see you guys tomorrow. Remember, if you get any trades, feel free to send them in to us via WhatsApp. And of course, remember to watch out for your risk as well. Also, remember to give us a like and a subscribe. That does also end up helping out our channel. So I guess we'll see you guys tomorrow morning at 9. And with that, happy trading, guys. And bye for now. May the peeps be with you. God bless.